Proverbs 13:18 says, "Whoever disregards discipline comes to poverty and shame, but whoever heeds correction is honored." In other words, if you accept correction, you will be honored. This morning we are talking about learning to confront. If you're following along in the Word for You Today devotional, you will notice that today is the second of a two-part series. But since we were together in worship yesterday, we are combining both parts this morning. Now, we don't enjoy confrontation, but it is impossible to grow without it. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 14 and 15 gives us a blueprint. "Then we will no longer be infants, tossed back and forth by the waves, and blown here and there by every wind of teaching, and by the cunning and craftiness of people in their deceitful scheming. Instead, speak the truth in love. We will grow to become, or instead, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of Him who is the head, that is Christ." Healthy confrontation calls for the speaking the truth in love to those that we value. Just as God confronts each of us in areas where we need to grow, He expects us to do the same for others. Now, is that easy? No. But here are some guiding principles to help us along the way. Number one, talk to the person and not about them. Healthy confrontation should be direct and, when possible, done in private. It calls for thoughtful communication, delivered firmly but graciously. When people are hurting, handle them with care. Number two, don't exaggerate or use spiritual hype. Give specific examples. Don't hide behind words like, "I believe the Lord has shown me that you're wrong." You see, when Nathan, the prophet, confronted King David about his sin with Bathsheba, he was specific. And keep your emotions in check. Allow enough time between the offense and the confrontation for a prayerful diffusing of any anger you feel. Third thing, don't guilt trip them, but rather help them. Don't leave somebody in a stew without clear direction on how to improve. That's not fair, and it's not constructive. Actually, it can lead to more intense issues and unwanted complications. The best approach is to calmly identify the problem and suggest ways that it can be resolved. Your goal isn't to go around exposing somebody, but rather to show them a better way. And number four, don't be critical. Be compassionate. If you miss everything else, don't miss this. If you do, you will find yourself condemning other people rather than confronting them. You know, if you're honest, you'll admit that your own road to success has had some potholes. I know mine has. Everybody's have. So approach others with love and concern. So let me repeat that one again so we don't forget it. Don't be critical. Be compassionate. Now, healthy confrontation calls for putting the other person's well-being above our own interests. And this is extremely important. So how do you confront someone in the right way? By doing these three things. Number one, be sure. There must be a good reason to confront. And it should be a rare event, not an everyday one. You should never relish the experience of going out and confronting somebody. Because if you do, you need to examine your motives. Are you feeling superior? Are you redirecting your anger toward this person over a completely different issue? Are you lifting yourself up by trying to put them down? Before we confront someone else, we need to truthfully answer those questions. Secondly, be specific. Vagueness leads to an uncertain outcome, no matter how tactful and gracious our words might be. Make sure you know the reason for the confrontation and then make that clear to the other person. And number three, be sensitive. Every situation is different, so a season of soul-searching and prayer should precede any face-to-face encounter. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for problems, and the other person will sense uncertainty and uneasiness in your words. Don't run that risk. If you haven't taken the time to pray and to get counsel beforehand, don't just jump into the situation on your own. You know, we have all seen this type of Clint Eastwood, go ahead, make my day approach. And without fail, it leads It leaves confusion, resentment, and a trail of wounded souls behind. Make sure your words and your tone of voice are attuned to the person that you're dealing with. And try to keep your personal agenda in check, because none of this is about you. Pay close attention to timing, choose your words carefully, and for sure, pray for guidance. Remember, Christ-like confrontation brings the right result every time. And as Hebrews 12:11 tells us, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. And that's the word for you today. We invite you to join us Christmas Eve for worship at 5 and 7 p.m. The early service is focused on families with children, and the later service will be more of a traditional Christmas Eve candlelight service. And please note that we will only have one service at 10 a.m. on Sunday, December the 26th. So we look forward to having you in worship with us during the remainder of this Advent season and as we celebrate the coming of Christ. And we invite you today to have a wonderful day. We love you, church.